Welcome to another edition of iGlobenews Pods. If you like our video, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us the thumbs up. You can find all our podcasts on our YouTube channel and on our website, www.iglobenews.org. Please visit us, sign up to our newsletter, and become part of the iGlobenews community. Joining me for today's interview is founder and CEO of WW Wohnwagen GmbH, Therese Mai. Thank you for coming on our show and talking to our listeners.
Thanks for the invitation, Diana.
Excellent. Before we start, let me briefly introduce you and your company to our audience. You received a BA in Business Communication and your MA in Business Administration. After gathering some work experience, you started your first startup in April 2012 in the field of communication and consulting. And shortly thereafter, in March 2013, you already founded WW Wohnwagen GmbH after a successful campaign on CrowdInvest. Today, you are a successful businesswoman with 30 employees and 110 sold tiny houses. You and your company have received a number of awards. In 2013, your company was awarded Startup of the Year. In 2016, the company was awarded the Crescendo Company of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce. And in 2017, you personally received the Entrepreneur Award of the Year. Very impressive. You have made it your mission to create living spaces for people looking for a flexible, small apartment, an ecological home, a second home, a living space extension, or an office in a garden. On your website, you state, individual solutions for natural living, a thoughtful and natural living space, individually equipped, simply beautiful, and at the same time flexible. A natural tiny house with loft character, with which one opens up nature as a habitat. So my first question to you is, because you're so authentic also on your website, do you actually live in a tiny house?
I live tiny at the moment in a small flat, but we are actually the first time in 8 years since I started the company. It's really the time and the place that my husband and I plan our own tiny house, and we are actually in the middle of the planning process right now.
Okay, excellent. I was just interested if you yourself also live in one of your tiny or a tiny house designed by yourself. What does the WW in your company name stand for?
That was actually a funny story at the beginning. When we founded the company, it was kind of in a hurry because we had this chance to become the first crowd investing campaign in Austria. A colleague from my studies, he founded a crowd investing platform and invited us to be the first one. And we just had 1 month to found the company, get everything in order to, on the 1st of March, be their first crowd investing project in Austria. And we had to take that chance. And then at the beginning, we wanted to be called just Wohnwagen GmbH. And then that wasn't allowed because it's not specific enough. And then we had to come up with a on-the-spot solution. And that was the WW, which is kind of our logo with the two W's.
The two W's next to each other, yes.
That seemed for us a good solution to make the authorities happy with our name.
So actually, Wohnwagen, I mean, it's a German word, but it works well in English. So like Wohnwagen, spelled somewhat differently, but at least you can pronounce it and you can get the idea. Actually, my next question was going to be over this CrowdInvest campaign, which now you've already explained that to our listeners, that your friend founded this platform and that's how you kind of quickly jumped on board, and that was the motivation.
We needed to find some way to fund the building of the prototype. When we founded the company, I was 22 and just had this small business running. And my co-founder, Christian, he was also in the field of renovation and building, but also just with a really tiny company. And we had no resources whatsoever to build a prototype house of a self-sustained living unit. And So it was clear that we had to get some funding. We didn't even try at a normal bank, I have to say, but with the idea of building a self-sustained mobile house, I don't think that we would have gotten a loan at that moment with our background also. And so we said, okay, let's try it with the community and let's see if the community even wants a house like that, has a circular system that supports itself. And let's see if there's any response from the market. And yeah, that was why crowd investing was such an interesting option for us. And it was really a beautiful way where we said, okay, there was so much emotional response to this idea, even though we just had a 3D image of what we wanted to build. And still there were more than 100 people who were willing to invest their personal savings to start a company and make the prototype possible. And yeah, I would do it again.
Congratulations. It's a success story actually right from the start. But I mean, tiny houses are very grassroots as such. And so I think the financing fit your product as well. Tiny houses and living off-grid are a very big deal in the US. There are many solutions, from van life to adapting your car, to living in a trailer, to living in a custom-made tiny house on wheels, which of course is the top of the line off-grid living. Nowadays, even if one can afford to live in a big house, there is a growing movement of home dwellers who have made this their lifestyle choice. They reduce their ecological footprint, are independent, and can take their home with them. Why has living off-grid in a tiny house turned into such a huge phenomenon?
That's an interesting question, actually. And I see different motivations when I look at our target group and our customers. So, as you said, Diana, it's not for most of our customers, not the necessity to live small, but the luxury of living small. It's really a statement for them, and it gives them kind of a relief from all the pressure that we have if we own a big house and a lot of stuff that we have to take care of. So there are a lot of customers that really celebrate this lifestyle of just having the essential things in life, being able to really care about them and to cherish them and to enjoy them actually, and not just having a lot of space that takes up a lot of work, cleaning and heating and stuff. Um, One motivation is that I think that we've kind of lost track of what is really good for us over the last decades. So it has become more and more and more, and everything's gotten quicker and more detached also from nature. And a lot of people are searching for answers and searching for new ways to connect their lifestyle, their way of living, to something that's also yeah feels good for them. And I think living small and surrounding you with good materials, and also with this idea of self-sustained living, being able to really care for the resources that you need yourself. That's one part of an interesting solution. And yeah, I think that are kind of the motivations that are important for our customers.
I think you more or less put it in a nutshell. I mean, tiny houses are kind of the opposite spectrum of, I don't know if you know the term, it's called McMansion, which were like these humongous mansions that kept getting bigger and bigger, like, I don't know, 10 bathrooms, 15 bedrooms, and the square footage just kept going up and up. And tiny houses go more or less in the opposite direction. And as you say, kind of much more thought into what do I need? What makes me happy? Do I really need 5 bathrooms? Is not this enough? And also the self-sustained living aspect, which obviously plays a very big role. The stigma that because you live in a tiny house that you're jobless or on welfare just is plain wrong. Has this trend hit Europe just like it's hit the United States, or is this a new trend in Europe?
I think the trend in Europe is slightly different from the one that we see in America, also because building regulations here are a lot stricter. So you can't build absolutely cheap. If you want to build a really cheap tiny house, you have to be not only off grid, but also off the regulations and, like, say, a little bit off the law.
Off the
So
law.
And so the stricter building regulations also force tiny house builders to build in a high quality way, which means that the standards for insulation of the walls and for heating, etc., have to be made in a certain way. That means like tiny houses is, if I speak from our offers, they start from 100,000 euros and also range to 200,000 euros. So it's not absolutely cheap, but still affordable if you compare it to building a, I don't know, 200 square meter house. And yeah, the trend has definitely hit Europe or hit Germany, Austria. We get, especially since the last 2 years, where people are starting also to think about moving to the country more and more, getting out of the cities. That has really given the tiny house trend a tremendous boost. And also this last 2 years where it's more and more possible to work from home or to have, if you have internet connection, you can work. That has given a lot of our customers also the freedom to really say, okay, this is my house and I can put it on a beautiful location. I don't have to travel forth and back to the city every day. Yeah.
So we prepared a couple of pictures of your tiny houses, which we would like to show our listeners so that they can get a bit of an idea. Maybe you'd like to explain some of the pictures as we go along?
Yeah. So this is the Wohnwagen from the outside. As you can see, it's tiny, but also built in a way where we think that aesthetics and having a like beautiful outside design is really important for us to integrate the Wohnwagen in the natural surroundings and also with the buildings that surround it. We use only natural building materials that you can see very clearly. It's mainly wood. We use sheep wool for the insulations of the walls. We have 8 centimeters of massive wooden construction in the walls and then 16 centimeters of sheep wool, which gives you a wonderful room climate and regulates the humidity in the room. And yeah.
So do you sell these mountains where these are standing as well, or?
That's Vorarlberg. That's yeah, all the west of
westernmost,
Austria.
the west of Austria, exactly.
It's a really beautiful project because it's the house belongs to Lisa and her partner, and they put it up right next to the house of their parents, of her parents, which is a farm that the parents aren't able to support on their own anymore, and the house was too small to live there, all the four of them. And so they put up a Wohnwagen next to it, and they share a lot of the resources that they have, like the washing machine and storage space, and work together on the farm. So it's the interesting thing is that if you live small, there is immediately there are new connections, and a lot of people, our customers, they connect to projects, to farms, to their direct surroundings, to their friends, and yeah, the living projects that emerge from that are also really beautiful, I think. So it's not just me alone in my tiny house somewhere in the woods, but rather connected to a local community and being an active part of it.
Are your tiny houses mobile?
They are flexible, I would say. They're not made for traveling around every day. But as you can see towards this extension of the room, there is a step, and you can really slide in the room extension and then move them in one piece.
So I see. So that step we see now on the picture is like something that would slide back and forth?
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
So it's possible to move them even with 80 kilometers per hour over the highway. So they're made to be moved, but not every day. So they have 14 tons in weight. So it's not something that you would put on a campsite and change location every day.
So it's mobile, but it's not something you'd move around on a regular basis. So it is. And do most people live there like all the time, or what would you say is your main?
So 70% of our customers really use them as a full-time living unit. We also build in a way, like I said, with a very high quality, good heating system, that it's possible to be there all year round, have a good heating, and yeah. So most of past customers do that, and then we have some projects for like I say, hotel use or rent or even holiday homes. That is, of course, also possible. But regarding the flexibility, an interesting aspect is that if you're flexible, it's not necessary that you own the property where you put up the tiny house. And this is an interesting possibility to make a land usable for living that before wasn't. So a lot of people own a piece of land that they, I don't know, store for maybe the grandchildren will build someday. And with a tiny house, you can activate this for living purposes without having to sell them.
And you don't have like the water, all your appliances, that would be something that would be integrated in your construction. So you don't have to put it on the land. So you wouldn't have to have like gas, water, electricity on the land itself.
That depends on the project. So from a technical point of view, we can support the whole living unit itself. So we have our own energy production, water treatment system, bio toilet. So technically speaking, we don't need any connection to the grid. If the customer wants one, like an electricity backup to be sure that you have electricity all year round, you can of course connect it. If you want to use fresh water from the grid, that's no problem. But we also have customer projects where they collect the rainwater and filter it to drinking water quality, where they clean their own wastewater with biological processes. So yeah, it's possible.
So you mentioned now, I can totally understand that people during this lockdown period were looking to get out into nature, and I can see that this would be a very attractive way to actually live in nature. So how long, if one wanted one of these tiny houses, how long would one have to wait for them?
Actually, at the moment, we have quite a waiting list. It's about a year until you get your Wohnwagon. It's every project starts with an individual planning phase. So what we do is that we design every layout individually according to the customer needs. Like if you want to play piano, or if you're a passionate cook, you might want a bigger kitchen, or you need space for your piano or for your workstation. And when we are finished with the individual layout and technical solutions, then you could order your Wohnwagon. At the moment, we have about a year of waiting until we can deliver it.
And are you the only company in Austria that produces these tiny houses?
There are other companies that produce tiny houses. I would say that we are the only ones that really produce them in a quality like that, with this flexibility in combination. And also, there is no one in the market yet that has this focus on self-sustained living, where you really build like a circular system for your house that provides you with the energy you need, ensuring that you have nearly zero fixed costs once the system is set up. You need basically a little wood to heat to support the heating system in winter, but that's it. And that gives our customers a lot of freedom because they have very low running costs once they start their Wohnwagon life.
I did see the big chimney. So that is like a fireplace, or does one also use that for like cooking, or is it more only heating, or
It's a
what would?
combined station for heating, hot water, and cooking. So
Mhm.
the heating system is a combined solar and wood heating system, where either if the sunshine is enough, then the sun supports the heating and warm water production, and if that's not enough, you can make a fire in your oven. And there are models that are also possible, where it's also possible to cook on them, and
Mhm.
that there are other models that are just beautiful, where you can just look into the fire and enjoy your evening. But yeah, it's a combined wooden stove that has a water circulation system integrated, and where you not only heat the room, but you heat the hot water surrounding the oven, and that water is stored for later for heating and for your hot shower.
So the room is basically being heated by that stove that we saw in the picture.
And the sun.
That's and the sun. Okay. You don't have a technical background, but I can see by our discussion know a lot. How did you come to start a company in an area that isn't naturally something that you studied? I mean, I think it's great, and you obviously have made a huge success of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been technically interested if I see an application of it. So I wasn't very good at physics in school, and I didn't understand what formulas they were talking about. But once I saw the applications with our solar system and what it means that the voltage is like this or like that, I found it highly interesting and really like had this yeah drive to really dig deep also in the technical parts. Also, as a CEO, I found it was my obligation to be able to discuss every topic in the company, like on the same, I don't know, yeah, on the same level, I would say, and also to be taken seriously if it comes to negotiations. Um, so yeah, I try to really understand all of that, but it would never have been possible without a great team. So I have a, a tremendous amount of knowledge in my team from all technical backgrounds, from water, electricity, building. So the team with 32 employees actually at the moment.
32.
Yeah,
You grew.
yeah. Every month I have the feeling, and yeah. So that wouldn't have been possible just with. But network is everything, and yeah.
Well, that's very commendable. Do you sell most of your tiny houses in Austria or Germany or Central
Our
Europe?
main market is actually Germany, and we also sell in Austria and Switzerland. But only in those three countries, because that's at least these are the countries where we can also care about the building regulations and have good knowledge of what building regulations there are, what we need to consider regarding the fireplace and the insulation, etc. In other countries, we can deliver, but we can't care about the building regulations.
Okay. How would you characterize your clients? You've kind of alluded to it, and you say most of your clients actually live in your tiny houses full time. How would you characterize them?
So I would say there are three main customer characters. So one is younger couples, I would say 25 to 35, that want their own living space that also goes in line with their ideas of sustainable living. Most of them, they take a lot of thought on how they want to eat and where their food is coming from, etc. They take a lot of interest in their in their sustainability in the rest of their lives. So they want also their homes to reflect that, and there's very little possibilities to choose a way of living that reflects that if you don't have millions on your bank account. Or yeah, so that is the one part. And then there are, I would say, the customer group maybe 50 plus or 55 plus, where the children moved out of the house and they start to reconsider how they want to live, and see for themselves that it's actually closer to nature and with less work, uh, caring for the house and everyone else. So the idea of those customers is really, it's my turn now, and I want to live in a beautiful surrounding with great materials in exactly the way that I want. And then we have some customers that are just really into this topic of self-sustained living, and I would say the Tesla factor or Apple factor, where it's okay, this great app now shows me how much energy I produce and I can regulate everything.
Okay.
This is also one one customer part that is just triggered by this idea of being able to see all the resources in the circular system. And yeah.
How many people can comfortably live in one of those tiny houses, like the one we just saw, for instance?
And the one we just saw is really for two people. So it's mainly a couple living there, sometimes singles. Um, we also have a family version that is slightly bigger and has an extra room. Um, I would say it's for a young or for a small family with one kid. If you want bigger living space, or if you really have two or three kids, I would suggest our modular houses. So since 1 year, we also build without wheels, and connect 2 or 3 units that can also be deconnected, or we can, if the kids moved, you can rent the unit as a as a guest room or as a flat.
So you're using your original design and kind of building on that. How did you come up with the original design?
That is my co-founder Christian. He's from the I would say the designer and creative architect behind Wohnwagon, and that's something that I don't know, I'm with my background in communication, I'm not a designer myself, but I can spot good design and see the value of it. And that was definitely something from the first moment that he showed me those 3D images. I was like, okay, that's just great. And I can look at this for 30 years and it will never be old. It will never be ugly. It's not something that goes with, that's not just now cool, but this, it's just,
Classic.
it's classic. And
Yeah.
I was, so that's, Christian's part. And I'm really glad that he came up with this design because I really love it.
Well, it looks really, really beautiful. Can you share with us maybe some of the more unusual requests that you've had? I mean, has anyone wanted to put a jacuzzi in there, or what are the
Sauna,
most
yes.
sauna?
Sauna we already had, and piano we actually built one with a piano. I would say one of the more unusual requests was to build a barber shop in the Wohnwagon.
A barber shop.
A barber shop, which is a project that we did last year. We also have a cooking mobile that travels around Karlsruhe in Germany, and they travel from school to school and cook with the solar energy that they can harvest. So every school class gets to see, okay, today we produce 20 kilowatt hours, and what can we cook with that? We probably need, I don't know, we have only 1 hour of cooking, so we need to figure out the right recipe for the solar energy. That is a really nice project that we have. And we also built a Wohnwagen as an office for a cemetery in the woods. It's like a nature cemetery.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, but it would be like, when you say cemetery in the woods, would it be like where people can like disperse their ashes, or
Yeah.
how?
They can
Okay.
like bury their ashes below a tree,
Oh,
and they have
very nice.
their own tree, and for this.
So you already mentioned that you work with natural materials such as wood, clay, plaster, sheep's wool, and of course you advertise this very healthy indoor climate. So if someone would come to you and say, I want this to be made of plastic, would you allow that, or would you say, oh no, it doesn't come into our house, or sure, I'll build it, or so, I mean, would you only accept these kinds of materials, or can if someone has a really special.
We have this privileged situation that we really have like enough to do and that we can focus on the projects that we also love to build. And actually, we really wouldn't build with, I don't know, plastic windows or plastic floors or anything. We just wouldn't. I mean, what's possible is what we offer is that customers can build themselves. So we offer at least the main construction. And if you decide, okay, I want to build the kitchen myself, then of course I have no influence in what materials you would use. But if you want to order from us, then it's natural materials.
And your bathrooms, are they tiled? Do they have little bathtubs, or is it mostly showers, which I guess is the usual way in
both.
town?
We have we built 2 projects actually with bathtubs. Normally it's a shower with a special old technique from Morocco that seals the inside of the shower with a beautiful surface. It's called Tadelact. You know it from Morocco, from those hammams, and it's the original way the Berber did this, inside of the bath. It's a really beautiful surface that, and that or with mosaic stones. that we also do a lot. The customer
Sounds
can decide what's best for
Sounds
him.
very beautiful. You already mentioned the toilet. I mean, it's of course it's maybe not the most beautiful part of a house, but it's the very, very necessary. What kind of toilet options do you offer?
So of course it's possible to connect a Wohnwagon to with a normal flushing toilet to the grid, and we do that for 30% probably of our projects. But if you want to be off grid and if you want to live in a circular system, to take care of this topic is one essential part. And we actually offer bio toilets, which are separation toilets, where in a mechanical way you separate the urine and feces, and you can use both of those resources. Again, you can compost them and use them as a fertilizer. Especially urine has a lot of valuable resources in them. So it's phosphor, it's nitrogen, which are also used for fertilization in our on the field normally. And with the urine, if you put 1 to 10, if you combine it with rainwater, it's a perfect fertilizer. And you don't need to waste 13,000 liters of drinking water to get rid of this problem, like we normally do with our flushing toilets.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that actually myself.
Yeah.
So do you have like tanks, like gray water, black water tanks, which are integrated into your house, or how do you deal with the issue?
The toilet is actually it's a separate solution from the rest of the water system, and a very small tank. It has only 30 liters, and then there is a urine tank below where you can uh, tap the water from outside,
Okay.
the urine from the outside, if you want to fertilize your garden with it. And the rest of the gray water, that's the good part of it. If you use separation toilet, the rest of your water is really clean. So it has only from the shower, from the sink. There's soap in it, but nothing too bad, let's say.
Okay.
And that water is cleaned by a plant system with swamp plants that have a very active microorganism system in the roots. And those microorganisms clean the water, and afterwards it's possible to use this cleaned water also for your garden. And
So are those microorganisms in a tank, or are they in a little pond, or is this what you call the
it's
green sewage treatment plants?
exactly, and it's 1,000 liter. I would say it looks like I would say it looks like a raised bed.
Okay.
It's also with wood on the outside, so it looks really beautiful. Very simple, actually. It's a water tank of 1,000 liters with 3 chambers and a lot of green stuff growing.
Okay.
That takes care of the cleaning.
Excellent. So is this like a patent that you came up with, or is this already a solution out there that is widely used?
It's a combination. So swamp water treatment systems are used all over the world for decades, and there are also designs for smaller solutions, and we kind of combined all the good ideas that there were and combined them with our knowledge, and then came up with a water treatment solution on small space that is still flexible, that you can move with your Wohnwagen if you want to change places.
Excellent. So you've thought of every little detail, which of course, when you don't have a lot of space, makes a lot of sense. And if you want to go off grid or be more self-sufficient, that would also be necessary. I read on your website that one can sign up for like trial living, or you can stay. I don't know. Could you tell us more about this? Has this been an effective marketing tool? So I could just say, I'm coming to spend the next month in one of those beautiful little homes, and then I'll see if I like it. Or how can I imagine
Exactly.
this?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers want to try out first before they move to a Wohnwagen. So what we offer is test living or trial living in one of our Wohnwagons. We have quite a lot actually at the moment, more than 10 that you can choose from in different locations from Switzerland, Germany, Austria. They're all on our website, and normally customers spend 2 to 7 nights, and see for themselves how it is, if they still like their partner after after being for some days with a really tiny space with them, or how they can deal with the bio toilet, how it all works. So it's always
That
a good start.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense before you. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, your houses, I think, in the long run, of course, are cost effective. But I think just because you have such a high quality of everything you put in the house and all the materials you use are of such high quality, and as you say, the building regulations in Austria, and I suspect the ones in Germany are not much different, probably are much more complicated than, let's say, in the US. So they're cheaper than buying a flat somewhere, but they're not like super cheap. I looked at some of the prices. So what would you say are one of your main selling points? Is it you want to have less fixed costs, or what would be one of those main selling points when it comes to costs?
Mm, when it comes to cost, I don't know. I think most of our customers just really want to live like that and don't think so much about, is this the most cost effective way to live?
Okay.
It's the way that I want to live. So it's like I would compare it probably with buying a t-shirt. You're also not really thinking about, is this the most cost effective way to dress myself? It's the way that I want to dress. I like the material. It feels good. I have trust in the person who sells it. So I want this one now. But yeah, regarding the cost thoughts, so a lot of our customers put up their Wohnwagons in places where it's impossibly expensive to buy the property that you want to live on. So that is one part that is really interesting, especially around Munich. Let's say, it's the prices for the square meters are so high that it's highly expensive to buy a property. With a tiny house, you can live on a property that's not yours, and you spend the money that you want to invest really on your house and on your living space. So that's one part, and then of course the fixed costs that they consider. Yeah, I have to invest at the beginning, but then the running costs are really low.
So I could park my tiny house. It doesn't have to be on a buildable lot. It could be
It
on
should
a
be a
field.
buildable lot, but it is not
Okay.
necessary to be yours. So most of our customers, they rent, I don't know, 100 square meters from a friend, from a farmer, from someone who just has land that he doesn't use. And there's quite a lot of that actually, if you look into it. And this
But
way it can be.
it has to be buildable. So it has to have, in German you'd say Bauland.
If you want to have the permission, the only ways are either a campsite or buildable land.
Okay.
There are some exclusive expectations for farmers, but I wouldn't say that that's the way to go, because it's rare that you get the permission for those projects.
I see. So you mentioned also that in Austria there are some competitors, but in your category of quality, you're unique. So most of your competition, I take it, comes from abroad. So where do most of your competitors sit? Are they German? Are they Italian? Are they? I mean, you have to be local for a tiny house. No one's going to order a tiny house from the US. Or do they build it themselves? Like in the US, the trend is huge that people just sit down and design and build their own houses. Of course, sometimes it takes forever. But here in Austria, I guess that's not so the trend. So they use professionals like your company.
Mm. I have to say that I don't give so much thought on competitors, because I see that we have more to do than we can, that we can
You can handle at
actually
the
build.
moment. So it's a great
And
situation to be in.
yeah, actually it really is. And I think that there are definitely enough niches for different tiny house producers. Everyone has his own focus, his own style, and I think it's good that customers can choose for themselves what's the best way for them to build. On the building market, it's the same. You can choose if you want to build a house. There's so much to choose from. If you want to build a tiny house, there are very small options. So I think it's a little competition is good for the market, and we try to cooperate with either rather than see that as a competitor. For example, we offer our solutions for self-sustained living, for example, a bio toilet or an electricity production. You can also use this for other projects, and you can buy them in our shop. And we try to be open to
so you can
exchange with
integrate
other
it.
projects. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could say, "Oh, I want to do it myself, but I'd like to have this module of yours, for instance."
Yeah, like the water filter, or at least I want a bio toilet or stuff
Excellent.
like that.
In the fall of 2018, your company moved to Gutenstein in Lower Austria. I believe you come from Lower Austria. Is that correct? I saw from your CV. So in Gutenstein, you've really built up quite a team there. Why did you choose Gutenstein? Is that your hometown, or how did that happen?
I come from Lower Austria, but not from Gutenstein.
Okay.
Actually, quite far away, 1.5 hours, which is a lot for Lower Austria. We chose this town because we chose this town because it's the place we want to root our where we want to. Wie heißt denn Whistle schlagen auf Englisch? Sagt mal.
You want to put your roots down there.
Yeah, we chose Gutenstein because it's the place where we want to put our roots. When we searched for the right place to grow as a company, we were figuring out that if you want to live self-sustained, this has a lot to do also with the local connections that you have. And self-sustained living is nothing that you can achieve for yourself alone in the wood, but it's rather a connection, a network, and a community. And so we wanted to have a place where it's possible to build up a community like that and to really be connected to the craftsmen in the region, to the people in the region. And we wrote to 90 local communities all over Austria if they have a place where, and if they're interested. And we wrote to all the mayors, and then one of the mayor was really very keen on convincing us to come.
Yeah.
And that was the mayor of Gutenstein, and he showed us this beautiful workshop that we have now, and also this empty guest house that we chose as our headquarter. And we were like immediately in love with this place, also with the nature around it. And yeah.
So you had a visionary mayor of your little town, and he was thinking not only for himself but for his town. And I guess you brought a lot of jobs and maybe even like new citizens to his little town. How many people live in Gutenstein?
It's a small town. It has 1,200 inhabitants, and now some more since we are here.
And growing, it seems. My final question to you has to do with the fact that you are a successful startup. I don't want to call you a startup anymore because you've been around for a long time, but you were a startup and you are successful, and you seem to be well on your way to just expanding and becoming even more successful. So what are the qualities you would say does someone have to bring to be a success in a startup? What would you say to other people thinking about making this move? And during Corona, maybe many are thinking about it.
That's an interesting question. I think it really depends on what you want to do. From my history, it's really always paid off to be authentic and to stay close to what you feel is right. Every project that I tried to do where I was, okay, I need this money now, or where I got, I don't know, greedy or kind of moved from my principles to achieve some goal that I thought I needed to achieve, it went wrong. So, but every time that I stayed close to what I feel is right, the way was just like clear and quick and not always easy, but the puzzle pieces somehow also always got together. I would say it's also a lot of hard work. So what's a lot of the times not, I don't know, aware for people is that it's not only glitter startup space, but it's a lot of work that you really have to keep think about if you want to really dive into that and give your energy to that. For me with Wohnwagon, it was from the minute one, it was clear, okay, I want to devote all my energy and see this baby grow. And I've not, shed any tear about doing that. And also going through more difficult times. And in these times, I would say it's all about networks. So connections for me were key from the start, that you have mentors and partners that support you, that you have your community around you, you have your ear and your heart close to this community and see what they need. So this was for me the most important part, to know that I'm not this, I don't know, entrepreneur somewhere in the office, but that I'm part of a community that grows together. And yeah, this is for me feeling really valuable, especially during the more difficult times, to take care of this network.
Thank you very much. These were really some great insights into you, your company, your motivations. And I can see why you have been such a success. You truly believe in what you do, and it's a wonderful product. And thank you for coming on our show, Therese. Thank you for sharing.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, Dana. It's thank you for the very interesting questions. And
excellent. Thank you. Thank you for coming on our show. And our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another iGlobenews Pods. And stay tuned for many more interesting interviews to come. Thank you.